hey guys, what's going in? Mondays. They be fun, right? NFL movement today. For anybody who's watching foosball. Yeah, we got a few alertos. Is this on? Yeah, it is. Okay, cool. Pittman going to the Steelers. Kenneth Walker, MVP himself, going to Kansas City. I guess we'll see how that goes. I feel like Kansas City they don't really commit to the run game. It seemed like they wanted to with Pacheco, but I don't know. Pacheco looked really good like 2 years ago. Was that last year or 2 years ago? Man, I'm mixing up my years now, but he did look good, but I don't know what they're going to do with Walker. And plus, Walker, let's be real, he's kind of made of glass. He's hurt a lot, so it's probably just going to be a lot of throwing again for Kansas City. Who is the other one? DJ Moore to the Bills. That one, I'll be keeping an eye on that one because I know Josh Allen needs a legit wide receiver. And he's got decent wide receivers, but none of them are like A grade, S tier. Trent McDuffie, highest paid cornerback. Okay, interesting. Yeah. I haven't seen anything else but DJ Moore to the Bills. That's going to be a big one, I think. Because honestly, I personally think DJ Moore is one of the better receivers in the league. He just really hasn't had his chance to shine. He got to see a little bit of it in Chicago with what's-his-face under center. But even then, I felt like Roma Dunze he stole the spotlight this last year. So I don't know. I think DJ, he's still good. He's not too old. He's still in his prime, in my opinion. So get him out there, get him on the Bills. Let's see him become a wide receiver one. That wide receiver one spot that he was supposed to be for the past like 5 years, something like that. Anyway, enough football talk. Let's get into the real stuff, if we can call it real. Yeah, this is what I was talking about the other day was when like everybody's pointing fingers at who bombed that girls' school. That's funny that they're bringing it back up and they're like everybody's starting to argue about it now because that's what I said. I was like hands off for me because I don't know. I always see propaganda. Anytime there's war, you're going to get propaganda on both sides, but especially now with both sides really leaning into the propaganda, it's really hard to tell what's what, and especially when it's halfway across the world. That's the same thing I said with Israel and Gaza. It's like, I don't know what's going on over there. I can't tell because everybody's lying. So, and it's halfway across the world. I'm trying to deal with stuff that's right in front of me. And everybody had such a strong opinion about that, and they wanted me to have a strong opinion, and I'm like, I just don't. I'm sorry. I just don't. This is kind of another one of those things with Iran. I see the ups and downs. I'm kind of 50-50 on it. Personally, I think if you're going to sell me on any country going, like any country's leadership, for us to be taking care of it, I would say Iran. You could sway me on being like Iran. They've been a problem for a long time. However, it being the 7th nation on the list of nations to topple. Oh man, did my headset just die? Oh, piss. I might have to come back. But either way, I could probably plug in. I could probably plug in because I don't want to stop now. I still got like an hour till I got to get going on stuff. But yeah, it was the 7th nation to topple. Who was that? General? God, I'm blanking on his name. But wasn't that like back in the 90s or something? 7 nations. Wesley Clark. He claimed that the United States planned to take out and destabilize following the 2001 attack. So it was right after September 11th. Did he spill the beans? I can't remember exactly what happened, but they leaked basically that they had plans to take out these countries. And, well, Iraq, done. Syria, done. Lebanon, done. Libya, done. Somalia, Sudan, both done. Iran, here we are. And that's why I'm leaning more toward I don't like the idea of this. But, again, if you're going to sway me on any nation's leadership being toppled, I think that's your guy right there. It just sucks how convenient it looks right now. Let me see if I can plug in. Oh, this is going to be a little weird. Oh, jeez. I'm going to be like hanging out like this, maybe. Oh, man. Maybe I could I'll do it like this. Just going to turn this on, and I'll hear it from here. Turn them bitches up. Oh, wrong way. What's going in? There we go. There we go.
Welcome back to Rising. Niall, what's in your notes today?
Well, today, Robbie, we're into the second week of the war on Iran, and it's not going well. The public disapproves. The things the administration says keep shifting, and oil prices are soaring. Now, of course, the picture will change over time. No serious person doubts that the aggregate military might of the United States and Israel is far greater than that of Iran. The theocratic regime in Tehran might well be toppled, and I won't be shedding any tears over that. But there are a huge number of questions. And today there's a specific and disturbing one. Just who blew up a girls' school in southern Iran 9 days ago, killing scores of children? The Trump administration seems strangely unsure.
And see, that's another thing too. That's why I don't have such a strong opinion on it, because I don't fucking know. Like, everybody is just like, no, they do this or they do that, or the other side does this or they do that, and it's like, for Israel, it's like, oh, we're just going after the terrorists, but the problem is the terrorists build all of their bases underneath schools and hospitals and stuff like that, and then so it's like, and naturally you're gonna end up hitting those innocent zones. But then you got the other side saying, no, Israel's doing that on purpose. They're just recklessly targeting innocent zones. And it's like, well, who's telling the truth here? And it's like, well, Israel seems to lie all the time, but I think I get more lies from the opposition. So I don't know. I think you're both lying. I think you're both awful. And I have a hard time supporting any of it. So, but again, everybody has such a strong opinion on it, and they're going out and hitting the streets because they have the right answer. All right, go out and protest, waste your day doing God knows what because you don't even know what you're fighting for.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio 1 week ago today.
I've seen those reports. I would refer you, not because I'm not trying to answer your question, but I don't want to get it wrong. The Department of War would be investigating that if that was our strike. And I would refer your question to them, and I'll make sure they're aware that you have that question. But we'd like to know.
I wish more people would be willing to just be like, I don't know. I have a hard time supporting it. I don't know. But everybody has to have everybody has to have the answer, and everybody's part of a tribe now. So it's whatever your tribe says. That nuance is just slipping away.
And here's the Secretary of Defense, or Secretary of War, if you prefer, Pete Hegseth, with Tom Bateman of the BBC last Wednesday.
Can you give us an update on what the administration knows, what you know now about the reported strike on a girls' school in southern Iran on Saturday?
All I can say is that we're investigating that. We, of course, never target civilian targets, but we're taking a look and investigating that. Red tie in front.
Just on the basis that with the information you would have, your reconnaissance abilities, ability to gather information, I mean, it's several days on now. So is there any clarity on whose munition this was?
We're investigating it.
Later that day, it was Caroline Leavitt's turn. The White House press secretary's questioner here is Sean McCreish of the New York Times.
Did the United States airstrike a girls' elementary school and kill 175 people?
Not that we know of, Sean, and the Department of War is investigating this matter, and I would just tell you very strongly, the United States of America does not target civilians, unlike the rogue Iranian regime.
And finally, back to Mr. Hegseth again. Here he is on CBS's 60 Minutes last night with Major Garrett.
So one thing we do know for sure is Iran definitely does that. I don't know if Israel targets civilian zones. I really don't. They say they don't, but it seems like there's nothing but bullshit from them anyways, so I don't know.
If you could tell the American public it definitively was not us, you would tell us, wouldn't you?
I would say that it's being investigated, which is the only answer I'm prepared to give.
Fortunately for those of us in the public, it's not the only answer available. Several major media organizations have conducted careful investigations, and every one of them has found that the most likely explanation is the most obvious one, that the United States hit the school and killed the children. Reuters was first to report this, stating, quote, U.S. military investigators believe it is likely that U.S. forces were responsible. To be fair, the news agency at that time noted that those investigators had not reached a final conclusion. Soon after came the Associated Press, which said the explosion was, quote, likely caused by U.S. airstrikes. The AP said it based that assessment on, quote, satellite images, expert analysis, a U.S. official, and public information released by the U.S. and Israeli militaries. Separate investigations by the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and CNN all came to basically the same conclusion, that the most likely culprit is the United States. If that's true, how did it happen? Well, we don't know exactly, but the most plausible common sense explanation is bad targeting. The school was very close to, but separate from, an Iranian Revolutionary Guards base. Here's more on that from CNN's.
It probably was. It's kind of what it sounds like is you guys probably just hit it and you're like, oops, but we don't want to admit it.
Caitlin Collins.
Our analysis, which is based on satellite imagery, geolocated videos, and the assessment of munitions experts, suggests that the school was hit around the same time that an attack that American forces had launched on a neighboring Iranian naval base. This new satellite image shows several Revolutionary Guard buildings near the all-girls school. You can see how close they are. In red, you can see the craters at the center of the structures, including the school, and what experts say look like precision strikes.
Now, I mentioned just moments ago that members of the Trump administration seem oddly hesitant about saying who was responsible. But there's one exception to that, of course. Here's Trump on board Air Force One on Saturday.
Mr. President, did the United States bomb a girls' elementary school in southern Iran on the first day of the war and kill 175 people?
In my opinion, based on what I've seen, that was done by Iran.
Is that true, Mr. Hegseth? It was Iran who did that?
We're certainly investigating.
Still investigating.
But the only side that targets civilians is Iran.
We think it was done by Iran.
Can you give us an
Because they're very inaccurate, as you know, with their munitions. They have no accuracy whatsoever. It was done by Iran.
No evidence, none, has been produced publicly to support that idea. And I'm sure you noticed that even Hegseth didn't immediately endorse it. The theory that the strike came from an errant Iranian missile simply doesn't stand up, at least based on what we know so far. The images that have so far circulated on social media purporting to support this thesis have been debunked. One actually came from a city hundreds of miles away. But there is a new video showing something else, something vital. It appears to show a Tomahawk missile striking the base adjacent to the school. Iran doesn't have Tomahawks. Israel doesn't use them either, but America does. Look, can we say with 100% certainty that America hit the school? No, not quite 100%, and not yet. But is that explanation, based on what we know now, vastly more likely than any other alternative? Yes, obviously and undeniably so. So now we can expect the president's most ardent defenders to pivot, to minimize what happened, to cry, why does it matter, and to cite the Iranian theocracy's many cruelties. But it does matter. It matters strategically, with the United States claiming its enemy is the Iranian regime, not the Iranian people. It matters morally, because the United States shouldn't be bombing children to smithereens. And it matters ethically and perhaps legally, because if that's in fact what happened, people need to be held to account, regardless of whether their actions were mistaken or malevolent. Accountability. This administration hates that, at home or abroad. And isn't that the most likely reason why 9 days after a missile hit a school, Pete Hegseth just can't figure out who fired it? Please, let's get real, even when the reality looks so bleak.
Well, I don't really have much to quibble with. I agree, based on the investigating of it that I've done, that it seems quite likely that it was our side that did that. If you want to argue that that's not the case, you have to show some compelling evidence the other way, and you really can't. The idea that it was Iran seems ludicrous, frankly. I don't think it was targeted on purpose. I think CNN has a quite good rundown of how it's near buildings that would have been legitimate military targets, and they targeted that one by mistake. It's a horrific mistake that resulted in the deaths of a just huge number of children. And you know, we've got to. You can certainly, of course, in the course of even a justified military action, even something we voted on and said we wanted to do because it's better for world safety to overthrow this regime, there are going to be casualties of innocent people, and that's lamentable. But it is a fact of justified wars. It can't be the case that no civilian life loss is the standard, or else we can never defend ourselves. But there's a big gulf between that and this amount of civilian death. This will, especially if we're expecting the Iranians to rise up and install forces that are sympathetic to America and the West. Well, then it does matter how we do this, frankly, because this kind of thing creates anti-American sentiment. And it was needless, and it was a mistake. It sounds like they know it was needless and a mistake. And so there should absolutely be accountability for whoever, put the crosshairs over that building instead of that one. That is a sloppiness that got lots of people killed and is embarrassing to America and is contrary to our national security interests. So, yeah, no disagreement at all. Very bad, must be condemned. The administration knows it was us and needs to come out and take whatever steps are appropriate to discipline the person who screwed up.
Yeah.
Kind of seems like it.
The point that you raised, I think, about the United States hoping to, in some fashion, create a more America-friendly government in Iran, I think is particularly important when stuff like this happens. I mean, you've just killed lots and lots of girls mostly between the ages of 7 and 12. That's catastrophic morally, but it's also catastrophic for the reason you mentioned. And then just, Trump coming out, providing no supporting evidence at all and saying, oh, well, it was Iran. I mean, that really, I think, cheapens everything, including the office. I mean,
this isn't even a case where, in the course of prosecuting the war on Gaza, Israel will say, well, these are all military targets because Hamas is embedded within the civilian population and they're under buildings and they're using hospitals as staging ground. This isn't even any of that. This was just a school. No one is making the claim that it was a legitimate military target or if it's crossed the line into military legitimate target. They're just not saying anything because they knew it was the wrong building to blow up.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Very bad. Next up, Texas State Representative James Tallarico reportedly chose to do his interview with Stephen Colbert despite knowing it would not make it to the airwaves. A little calculated plan that I think did pan out. Stay with us.
Well, yeah. Who knows? But that one does seem kind of like they're just throwing up their hands and being like, well, I have no idea what happened there. It's probably Iran. Yeah, and who is this Gracie Mansion? Bomb story? Oh, is this in New York? Oh, yeah. Okay, so like two or 3 days ago. there was a protest in New York. It was basically it was against the Islamification of the West. And you can agree, disagree, but they do have a right to protest, and you don't have a right to throw a homemade bomb at them, hoping to kill a bunch of them. Yeah, that was insane. And I guess from what I heard, I need to still get into the details, but it sounds like they hucked the thing, and then the fuse went out or something, like divine intervention. And the thing just went out, and it could have easily taken out like a dozen, maybe if not like 24 people. But it just didn't go off. And it was some sort of homemade contraption made with like screws, nails, I don't know, all sorts of just anything you can just put into a device that will explode and just send shit flying everywhere. But yeah, and then I'm pretty sure they're just calling the terrorist a counter-protester. That's how just insane things have gotten. It's like you can't even, the dude literally commits terrorism in front of our eyes on film, and we still can't go as far as calling him a terrorist. Yet, what was it? A few years ago, we had the parent-teacher conferences where they were calling parents that were showing up domestic terrorists because they didn't like the curriculum that was being shoved down the kids' throats. You called them terrorists, but you won't call this guy a terrorist? That's why people are pissed.
Good morning and welcome to Rising. We've got a great show for you today. Of course, Niall Stanage back in the hot seat. Nice to see you.
Always great to see you, Robbie. Back in the hot seat at short notice. Our friend Lindsay has been snarled in traffic chaos.
Waylaid in some way.
Exactly.
Knows where she travels for her travel show. I'm not sure if that's what she's doing this weekend.
I'm not sure, but I had to get my Rising sneakers on at short notice and run down here, so it's good to see you.
Well, glad to have you here.
Coming up on Rising, Iran has selected the late Ayatollah Khamenei's son to be the country's new supreme leader. A pick President Trump last week deemed, quote, unacceptable.
Plus, the New York Times is reporting that Texas State Congressman...
Do you think it would be acceptable? We're just going to be like, no. And they're just going to be like, no. We're doing it anyway. Yeah, so we're just going to take that guy out too?
James Tallarico knew in
this is just going to be like just taking out an entire like family lineage just because they keep trying to put the next guy into power.
Advance his interview with comedian Stephen Colbert.
I know it's not a joke, but it is kind of funny.
Poured into Tallarico's campaign after the fact.
And Fox News is now apologizing after it aired an old clip of President Trump while covering the dignified transfer ceremony of U.S. soldiers killed in the Middle East. But first, Robbie, what is on your radar?
Let's get to it. Something truly awful happened outside Gracie Mansion over the weekend, but don't expect to get all the facts from Zohran Mamdani after improvised explosive devices were hurled at protesters by two individuals with Muslim extremist ties. Mamdani didn't even bother criticizing them by name, instead focusing his attention on right-wing provocateur Jake Lang, who organized the protest that was targeted.
I don't even know if Mamdani even addressed the pipe bomb or whatever you even call that thing, the homemade device. I don't even know if he addressed it. He literally just was like, oh, Jake Lang was doing his racist, white nationalist protest, which I don't know. The dude is an agitator, but at the same time, it's like, it's just a protest, but you had people throwing bombs at the protest and you don't even want to bring that up because they're Muslim. Mamdani's his image is not gonna last very long because people they're gonna get pissed.
Now, hurt people's feelings, you'll be denounced by name. Attack people on behalf of Muslim extremism, you'll barely merit a mention. Here is what happened on Saturday. Lang, a far-right rioter who's previously charged,
and that you can call him far right. I'm okay with that. Like a lot of the times when they say far right about people, it's just bullshit. It's not real. It's just like, oh, they don't. they're either so far to the left, or they might just be, the person might just be touching on something they don't like to hear, so they immediately label them that. So the rest of the people that hear it, they're like, oh, they're far right. No matter what the topic is, no matter what it is, oh, they're far right. Oh yeah, well, I can immediately discredit that. I don't need to listen to that because they're far right.
And regrettably pardoned for January 6th related offenses, led a protest outside Mamdani's mayoral residence. Lang's protest was against what he describes as the Islamification of New York. There was a roast pig at the protest. Offensive stuff. But Lang is known for pulling stunts like this, and he's previously called for burning the Quran, that sort of thing. It's obnoxious, and it's...
Well, the bacon on the Quran was, he went out to one of those, one of the first ones, I think it was in Minnesota, where he had the Quran, and he just had bacon, it was just wrapped in bacon. And it was just like, you're doing shit like that, yeah, you're going to get a lot of pushback. You're probably even going to get violent pushback. But just protesting, the fact that it was like, well, I mean, you know, like they're being a hate group or something like that. And it's like, a lot of them are just protesting. They're just protesting. You can't just physically assault somebody. You can't bring out violence to somebody who's just protesting. You can't even do that in most terms anyway. And it's just like somehow the left just thinks it's all good. They think it's all justified.
Offensive to peaceful Muslims, though he has the First Amendment right to peacefully protest in the public square.
And that's another thing too, is Islam and the progressive movement, they're almost the same thing. They use the same methods. They use the same sort of approach to everything. They think that violence is justified if it's against whatever their ideology is. There's a lot of mirror images.
Lang was, however, met by counter-protesters, including 19-year-old Ibrahim Qayoumi and 18-year-old Emir Balat. They are, according to the New York Post,
good job trying to pronounce that,
fanatics who self-radicalized and then traveled to Turkey and Saudi Arabia to actually learn tactics from ISIS. The explosives that they hurled at Lang's group are a type of bomb frequently used by ISIS terrorists. Luckily, it did not explode, and it's not clear it was built correctly and even could have exploded. Law enforcement is looking into all that. Now, officers have also apprehended Balat and Qayoumi, who admitted that their motivation was feeling insulted about their religion.
That their religion was insulted. So, you know, I'm just going to make a bomb and go ahead and just chuck it at them. Because that's what Islam is. I'm sorry, you can call me a bigot. I don't even give a shit anymore. Islam is a dirty ass religion, and it is not peaceful. Anytime you have to just rabidly proclaim that you have the religion of peace, but it's never adding up, you probably don't have the religion of peace. I hate to break it to you.
To be absolutely clear, every American has the right to mock Islam or Catholicism or atheism or Buddhism or Mormonism or the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster.
And I don't believe in any of them, but I really don't like Islam because it's the fruits. You really look at the fruits of what each ideology or religion breeds and look at what it breeds. Just look at it. Rape's okay. Beating kids, beating women. I met a lady one time when I was selling furniture that she used to live in Afghanistan, and she got ran off the road and flipped her car because some guy saw her driving. Yeah, that's there you go. There you go. Not okay.
The First Amendment protects religious expression and anti-religious expression in equal measure. Violence and terrorism are never permissible, even to offensive speech about protests. So one might have expected media coverage of these events to focus on the wrongness of the would-be terrorists rather than the offensiveness of the protesters.
Yeah.
But you'd be wrong.
That's why it's backwards.
Aside from the conservative New York Post, attention was generally focused on Lang.
Yeah, because honestly, fuck Jake Lang. Fuck that guy. He is an agitator. His methods and his approach, very antagonistic. And it's like, you're gonna get punched in the face. But they want to kill him. And they want to kill everybody that's around him, supporting him, even considering showing up to a protest or being like, hey, I'm on board with this. Yeah, there you go.
Rather than on the assailants. For instance, this tweet from NBC New York, it reads this: multiple arrests made after suspicious devices found outside Gracie Mansion, home of Mayor Zoran Mamdani, during anti-Islam rally and counter-protest. Well, that makes it sound, of course, like the anti-Islam side made the bombs. No, the pro-Islam side threw the bombs at the anti-Islam side. Conservative attorney Mike Davis writes on X, "This is the most dishonest reporting we've seen in a long time. Two jihadis threw 2 IEDs into a crowd of anti-Zoran protesters on video. Yet NBC reports these bombs were found and implies they belong to the conservative protesters. Truly a new low in journalism." Oh, he's correct. Mayor Mamdani similarly focused on Lang. Here was the mayor's statement on X. Yesterday, white supremacists...
Yeah, so let's see if he even mentions it, because from what I saw, I didn't see anything of him mentioning it.
Jake Lang organized a protest outside Gracie Mansion rooted in bigotry and racism. Such hate has no place in New York City. It's an affront to our city's values and the unity that defines who we are. What followed was even more disturbing. Violence at a protest is never acceptable. The attempt to use an explosive device and hurt
Oh, he did? Okay. Whatever I saw just didn't include this then.
This is not only criminal, it is reprehensible and the antithesis of who we are. Notice how that
It was pretty vague, though. They didn't really directly address it.
statement doesn't actually state what really happened.
Yeah.
The counter-protesters were responsible for the bombs. Notice also how he calls out Lang by name and says that this protest is bigoted and racist and an affront to New York City's values and to unity and so on, but isn't call Qayyumi and Balat out by name. And look, I agree that Lang is bigoted against Muslims, but I think terrorism is maybe a worse crime than bigotry, just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Not often I agree with her, but I have to say Laura Loomer...
But that's what it is, though. It's like he's doing this, and you guys are just proving his point. Like, you're just showing how violent Islam is. I don't know, like, what else you really want. Islam is violent. It's very violent.
About this. She writes on X, "The media keeps trying to make it seem like someone tried to bomb Zohran Mamdani, when in reality it was Muslim Mamdani supporters who threw a bomb at Jake Lang. So let's not be so timid about calling out Islamic terrorism. How about that, Mr. Mayor?"
Well, we'll have a vigorous disagreement to kick things off this Monday, Robbie. I don't really agree with that framing of the issue. The instigator here was Jake Lang. He was the one who decided to bring this protest around. A very small group of people, I'm glad to see, but one that was obviously Islamophobic.
Let's break down exactly what the protest is. And you can say Jake Lang has his motives, like, because a lot of them are just right out on the table. But at the same time, it's like there is a growing threat of Western cultures just accepting so many other cultures in and not preserving their own, not conserving their own. And that's the main issue. And especially with the fact that it's like we don't even have a choice in it. All that illegal immigration that happened, the 10 to 20 million people that just flowed in, that was a lot of other countries too. That wasn't just ours that was happening to. That was the UK, Australia. You should see the riots in Australia right now. We didn't even know those were happening. And I found those yesterday. And even I think Asmongold was like, the fuck, like, nobody's even talking about this? No, it's because it's happening in every Western culture. It's not just America. Yeah, in the past, like 4 to, I would say 10 years, more like, a lot of illegal immigration was happening. The funny thing is, Obama wasn't really having it. And yeah, that's that whole, like, debate, whether or not Obama or Trump deported more people. I don't know. Like I said, everything's a lie anymore, so I really don't know. But I did see people with my own eyes getting deported back in the Obama administration. That was back when I didn't even know it was a thing. One of our busters didn't show up to work that day, and we're like, oh, shit, they took her? It was just kind of, and it was sad, don't get me wrong, but it was like, well, what was her legal status? She wasn't legal? It's like, well, shit, what was she doing for years, you know? But I don't even know where I was going with that. I'm just retarded. Let's keep going.
And bigoted by its nature, and as you acknowledge, he is.
Oh yeah, breaking down what it really is. It's like I want to say the movement at its heart is really just, hey, we still want a culture at the end of the day, and the left really is trying to topple it. They're trying to dismantle everything in front of our eyes, and it boils down to Western culture. It's not just Christianity. It's not just America. I think it's just Western culture. It's anything Western value, Enlightenment era, anything that came out of that objectivity, Mathematics, as sad as that is, they want to say mathematics is all racist. But all right, here we go.
Against Muslims. The other point is that the first attack here appears to have been a pepper spray being discharged by Lang supporters against the counter-protesters. Now, then you had the devices being thrown. Nobody is defending the devices being thrown. Mamdani, as you noted, said that it was never acceptable, criminal, and reprehensible. So, and also just as a tangent, I don't take the New York Post's word for it as to exactly what the background of these two gentlemen were, given that I think the New York Post has been often fairly ludicrous in its Mamdani-related criticisms. But the point is, this was instigated by Jake Lang, and therefore I think it is perfectly valid for the media coverage.
That is, you see Robbie's face right there? That is a very messed up form of logic to be like, hey, this guy instigated terrorist bombing him. Let's see what Robbie has to say about that.
To focus on that point.
I mean, instigated. He has the right to organize a protest. It could be about whatever ridiculous thing he wants.
Right.
And anyone pepper sprayed anyone should be arrested and prosecuted, and etc. But to say that, I mean, you're saying instigated, that's almost like saying what they deserve to have bombs.
Are we going to bring up the topic of women dressing slutty and being like, oh, they had it coming? Are we going to go back to that topic now?
Thrown at them?
No,
because throw that back on Niall, and he's going to have a different answer.
Well, I'm not saying that, but I mean, I just said it's not acceptable, and I quoted Mamdani saying it's not acceptable. But the point is, the reason there was
These are
a flashpoint.
Unacceptable things. Like protesting, it's a distasteful kind of protest, I agree. But it's not, it is, like Mamdani criticized that more strongly than he criticized the use of the bombs. And the media coverage, and it's not really just him, the tone of the media coverage, to the extent that, I think Brad Lander, is that his name? He was another
New York City
mayoral hopeful. He actually put out a tweet saying, I got this wrong initially because he thought, based on the coverage, that the Lang group had done the bombs. And so he tweeted a follow-up saying, I got this. I was misled based on the coverage.
Well, good for him.
That
good
was
for him.
from the counter-protester side, and that's so good on him for making that correction.
Yeah.
But I understand why he came away from that impression. I was really struck by looking at the media coverage, how it assumed, and then it would make a casual reader think the Lang group had made the bombs.
Well,
but that's what they do, though. I've been seeing this for like 10 years. They lead you into thinking a certain thing, especially with the headline, and then they might admit it, like in the article, but it'll be at the very end where they're not going to read to the very end of the article. They're going to read the headline and maybe the first paragraph, and they've been doing this for so long, and it's so sloppy. It should be obvious. It's weird to me that it still gets people.
If it makes the casual reader think that, it's obviously wrong.
Yeah.
But the escalation here, both in terms of the initial protest itself and who first crossed the line, is the Lang group. It's the Lang group that pepper sprayed the counter-protesters. That does not make it legitimate to throw what the...
We need to see video of that. It's like you guys keep backtracking. It's like, okay, so pepper spray happened first. It was like, okay, so where's the evidence of that? And then maybe it did happen, but if there is no evidence, which there usually isn't, it's like no evidence. It's like, oh, it never happened. So you guys are just making that part up too, because you got caught in that first lie. So now you got to backtrack instead of saying, well, we got it wrong. Like the nice, awesome dude did. There's like, no, we're just going to double down, because that's usually what it is just doubling down.
See, the police commissioner calls an improvised explosive device. She says it was not a hoax. It was not an innocuous thing. And that's wrong. Mamdani has said it's wrong. He has said it's wrong in fairly emphatic terms. I don't really see where the core of the outrage lies.
Well, and also the pair that threw the bombs, again, maybe we need to wait for additional verification beyond the New York Post. I don't know if it was reported anywhere else. That's the report I saw. But that they've confessed to doing it, to to police, that the motive, it was not like self-defense, like there was pepper spray coming at them and then they hurled something in self-defense, but that this was planned because their religion was being offended.
Yeah.
And that is...
And let's be real, that's exactly why it happened. I mean, you got to prove to me that it happened for a different reason than that, because that they stand on that. They do. If you disrespect their religion, then they will commit violence against you. That's just how it works. I mean, it sucks. It's the reality. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that's just how Islam works.
Frankly, the kind of idea, and again, I am not, but I have a kind of Christopher Hitchens attitude toward all religion, to be perfectly honest.
Sure.
Like, their religious view that they have a right not to be offended does not trump our First Amendment. That will be true against any other religious group or any identity group of any kind. And so...
But you need to look at the religious tenets and see what the calls are for blasphemers. Just take a quick look at that.
Oh, I take offense to the idea of people coming in and saying, my religion can't be offended and I can take violent means
I agree.
to prohibit you. That is very wrong to me.
No, look, I have a fair amount of sympathy with that view. I do not think that religions of any description should be immune to mockery, and I certainly don't think they should be immune to criticism.
But Islam is, though. Remember South Park even tried to draw that picture of Muhammad, and there were more death threats on that episode than any episode combined, of any episode combined. There were more death threats on that one. Yeah, and they ended the episode it wasn't even a drawing of Muhammad. It was like, I can't even remember what it was, but they had to take the other route of being like, no, yeah, they'll kill us if we actually do it. And it's like, that's Islam. How many times do we have to say it? It's like, oh no, it's the religion of peace. Is it? That didn't sound very peaceful. We're just trying to draw your God. And it sounds like he's got a little bit of an ego problem. Sounds like he's a little self-conscious.
Religion to me is a very different issue from race or gender or something, because it is a code of belief that one chooses to adhere to. Now, many people are born into the religion they adhere to, but that's not the point. The point is, it is a belief that is can be as validly criticized as any form of political belief or other belief. But I don't really have a massive problem with Mamdani's response to this, which I think was clear-cut. And as I say, I think Lang's group were the primary instigators in this confrontation.
Well, we'll discuss Mamdani a little bit more later.
We will.
And some other topics. Lindsey Graham lighting up the...
I don't want to hear Lindsey Graham getting wins. Let's be real.
New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani and his wife Rama Douaji are facing scrutiny after a report alleging that Mamdani's wife liked posts on social media that celebrated the October 7th attacks on Israel.
The controversy first started on Friday when an article from Jewish Insider brought the posts in question to light. The first post was shared on the same day as the attacks by Hamas, and according to the article, quote, the Instagram post shows stills from participants' live-streamed footage of the attack. First of a bulldozer the terrorists used to breach the barrier separating Israel from Gaza. The second of attackers riding on a captured IDF vehicle. Printed on the former are the words, breaking the walls of apartheid and military occupation, and on the latter, resisting apartheid since 1948. Screenshots show Mamdani's wife using her personal Instagram account to like that post, as well as another post celebrating the pro-Palestine rally that took place in Times Square the day after the attack. Mamdani, who was at the time dating Rouaji, denounced that same rally, saying it appeared to, quote, make light of the loss of civilian life.
The story gained some traction over the
That's something.
weekend, leading to outrage from supporters of Israel. New York Congressman Mike Lawler wrote on X, "This is not something that can be swept under the rug. The sitting mayor's wife celebrated the murder of New Yorkers on October 7th. The mayor and his wife must answer questions, and the media must hold them accountable the same way they would the First Lady of the United States if she'd like statements celebrating the murder of Americans." And Barstool Sports founder Dave Portnoy writes, "Of course Mamdani's wife celebrated October 7th. The Mamdanis haven't hid who they are at all. They're terrorist-sympathizing communists. They wear it loud and proud. Anybody who paid an ounce of attention knew that going in, and he still won, That's the real problem.
What is it about New York and leadership just really wanting the destruction of America? It just seems like, because who's the last one? Wasn't it like his, I might be butchering this. I feel like his wife was like, I wanted I wanted the windows open so I could smell the burning tires of the riots. It's like that statement. Maybe you shouldn't say that.
And Mamdani was asked about the story by reporters on Saturday. Here was his response.
My wife is the love of my life, and she's also a private person who has held no formal position on my campaign or in my city hall. I, however, was elected to represent all 8.5 million people in the city, and I believe that it's my responsibility, because of that role, to answer any questions about my thoughts and my policies in my city.
A couple things I want to say about this. I mean, I don't really buy the excuse that she's not a political figure, because it would be a scandal if the wife of any prominent Republican, the spouse is generally in the game enough. It's different than like the kids or something. So I don't really agree with that. However, and to be clear, I was very critical of Mamdani in my radar today. People can go watch that for, in my view, underplaying the threat of Islamic terrorism relative to some other things. All that said, this one didn't quite do it for me. For a couple reasons. I mean, I certainly think those posts were they were not good posts. They were not posts, as far as I could tell, that really very concretely and directly said that people dying on October 7th was good. It was it was celebration of, the idea that
they weren't. I remember seeing like shirts being made of like the paratroopers coming in on that concert and just gunning down all those civilians. That's the type of shit that it's like, what the fuck? This, I don't know. It's kind of, I think Robbie's right. It's more of just like, it looked like she was just kind of celebrating like the possibility of them making a break rather than just the violence itself. So I don't know.
That they're in apartheid in Gaza and they're breaking out of that.
Yeah.
Now, I think maybe you were naive to think that the breaking out of their shackles part was not going to also result in lots of innocent people dying, as it immediately did. I've criticized.
But the way it did, though, that was really messed up, man. Like, oh God, just some of those, and that's why October 7th, I was very swung on October 7th, because I was like, I don't know how you defend this. And even seeing the left, what they were coming out with, like the shirts of the paratroopers, it's like, this is wicked. Like, those were innocent people at just some concert, and you just gunned them down. And you guys thought that was like your liberation moment. But at the same time, I heard that, there's theories that Netanyahu was the one who basically kind of set it up, or he stood down to let it happen so he could go scorched earth on Gaza. That's a possibility too, because he definitely went scorched earth on them, and it was overkill. So you could swing me on that as well. It's like that definitely seemed convenient for him.
Palestinian groups that emphasize the liberatory nature of that. Okay, but then they went and massacred people at a music festival, and they massacred people in their homes. So I think all those posts are very misguided. I think that's different, though, than like liking a post that's saying, oh, Jews died, that's great.
Yeah.
Also, and in addition to that, liking a post is a little, like, I like posts constantly on social media because I'm flagging them to use on this show or to reference later. I like posts I don't agree with constantly because that's how you internally flag for yourself. Now, I'm not asserting that's what she was doing. She maybe was liking it because she agrees with the sentiment, but the sentiment was even not still bad. I disagree with it. I disagree with the kind of politics she has on this issue and just in general, I'm sure. But they're being a little misdirecty here to do an anti-Semitism gotcha, in my view.
Yeah, I mean, the only way in which I differ, I think, from your view is that I would be more emphatic about the idea that I think this is a very, very thin gotcha. And, the central point is the one that you just raised about likes. I'm not on Instagram, which I think these likes occurred, but like on Twitter or X, I like things constantly that I don't agree with.
Yeah.
The idea that hitting a like signifies an endorsement of the view expressed is just a fundamentally pretty absurd view. And
yeah, it's not nothing, but it is also kind of assuming a lot. Resharing it, I feel like, is a little stronger.
In my opinion.
The debate is over whether retweets are endorsements.
Right.
Likes are not endorsements.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
an internal flagging mechanism.
Right.
Exactly. And, it does seem to me that in the middle of all the massive things we're in the center of as a country, I mean, we've done several segments already on the situation in Iran today, to be worrying about what the New York City mayor's wife liked on Instagram, a couple of years ago. I mean, that just seems not really relevant to me. It seems an intentional scare story. And, I mean, obviously I'm, more sympathetic to Mamdani than you are. But, there is this constant barrage, sometimes from the New York Post, sometimes from the Free Press. There's a radio host, Sid Rosenberg, recently referred to Mamdani himself as a cockroach and a jihadist. I mean, this sort of stuff I find just way, way untethered from the actual facts, and now attacking his wife, I see as part of the same pattern.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be fine with it, but you got to come up with better... thin to your...
Yeah, there's got to be substance.
It was a little bit thin.
Yeah.
I mean, there is way more... it's a bigger problem on the right than people were aware of, and they are waking up to that, and it's now getting... People on the right are getting tons of criticism from the Free Press and others, deservedly, in my view, because it's nuts how much I see the sentiment expressed. Like, they're out to get us, we're the Goyim, that kind of... I didn't even know what that phrase meant until a couple
months
ago. And now it's everywhere on social media. It's
I've been saying that, or like I've been seeing that a lot, the Goy shit. And it's like, I think I actually kind of knew about that, because just looking a little bit into Judaism, it's like they do think that they're the promised people. They think they're the chosen people for the promised land. So it's like, naturally, that's going to come along with a lot of outlooks on other groups of people. So yeah, the Goyim thing it's been spreading like wildfire.
Very bad and unhealthy.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that there is... I mean, look...
I think anti-Semitism is a way bigger problem than I thought previously, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I think that...
I don't change my mind often.
Yeah.
And I've changed my mind on that.
It's such a... Look, anti-Semitism is as gross and wrong as any other form of prejudice or bigotry. And I do think that, particularly on the right, there has been a notable upsurge in the openness with which it is expressed recently.
And one of the things I'm going to be getting into, probably, I think I want to do that today before it becomes irrelevant, is Tyler Oliveira, I think is how you pronounce his last name. Dude got nuked. His Patreon got just canceled. And I'm still trying to get the details on it. We're going to go over it today, but I thought it was from that Jewish video that he made. I think it was in New York, talking about the Jewish community, that they're just a conglomerate. And I'll probably just share that just so everybody can see it, and before that one gets nuked as well. Hopefully it's still there. But yeah, Tyler was a really, really good creator. Like his videos are amazing. And yeah, to see him go, I was heartbroken, because it's like, first of all, it's injustice. You can't do that to him. Second of all, it's like, I don't want to see him go. His videos are like incredible. I think he did the mole people too. That was the tunnels under Nevada, under the what is it? Was it under Las Vegas? The tunnels under Las Vegas? I think that's right. And yeah, the video on that was mind-boggling. It was a lot to absorb. But yeah, I'll get into that today too after I get done with some stuff. I'll probably be streaming this afternoon, and I'll try to tackle I think there's 3 segments that I want to get into.
Then I also do, of course, see the flip side, which is the weaponization of the charge of anti-Semitism, Piers Morgan, who we both have, so was talking about
right.
this just over the weekend.
You're right, and then they come at him totally, it's absolute BS.
Absolutely.
He's platforming robust, spirited debates, not on whether anti-Semitism is good or bad, but on Israel's actions and what should be the role in the Middle East. And he's very tough but fair to all of his guests, and he platforms people I like, people I don't like, and they're prosecuting some war on him because they think the anti-war guests keep getting the better. But that's not by the structure of the thing. That's just the anti-war people are more persuasive.
Right.
And nobody wants this.
Right, and it's not, it's just clearly not born out of some Piers Morgan animus toward Jewish people. Like, that's a ludicrous charge.
Right.
So that kind of weaponization, I think, has made it, that just plays into the whole debate over anti-Semitism too.
A lot of people are very frustrating on all of these.
I agree.
On all sides.
Not like us. We're much more reasonable.
Are we frustrating you? We hope not.
Up next, a new report.
No, Niall's behaving today. There's been some off days with him where I'm like, I want to shake him, but compared to most of the co-hosts, he's all right. I can get along with him. Let's do one more Rising. How long is that one? 10 minutes? I did want to, because I wanted to get into that one with Steve-O as well. They were talking about ICE, and it's just a good encapsulation of the average person who's not really paying attention, who falls into the left narratives because it's all you really hear, and it's kind of almost like, well, you don't know anything, and you feel like it's the heart felt way to go about it. But then Joe just quickly dismantles everything, and that's why I see people going just ape shit on the ICE topic. Like some of the people that I used to work with that were like fairly chill people are just losing their gourds on it, and it's like, you're being captured. You're saying literally the same exact words that the next person is saying that's under the same capture. It's the same exact words, and you say it with your chest too, and that's what's just like, oh, it's even more cringe because you fully believe this shit. Okay. But yeah, we'll get into that.
Prison guards apparently searched the
This is weird. Okay, so like the prison guard for Jeffrey Epstein apparently Googled his name minutes before the event took place or something. Before I butcher it, let's get into it.
Sex offender's name on Google just minutes before Epstein was found dead in 2019. One of Jeffrey
minutes before he was found dead. So, yeah, I guess, well, how much time happened in between the event and them finding him? Because would the event be when the tape shut off? That minute or so that was missing?
Epstein's prison guards apparently searched the convicted sex offender's name on Google just minutes before Epstein was found dead in 2019.
A report from the New York Post says the guard is a woman named Tova Knoll, who worked at the Metropolitan Correctional Center where Epstein was being held prisoner. The Post article says Knoll Googled latest on Epstein in jail at 5:42 a.m., again at 5:52 a.m., less than 40 minutes before her colleague, correctional officer Michael Thomas, found the disgraced financier dead in his cell by hanging at 6:30 a.m., according to an FBI record of Knoll's internet.
I mean, really, this could mean anything, but it is weird. That's pretty weird. Because honestly, there could have just been a lot of talk about who this guy was, and it could have just been coincidental as to, like, she's probably like, who is this Jeffrey Epstein guy? And it just happened, like, right around the same time. That's a possibility, but also, this is weird.
Search history that night.
The entire thing is weird.
Now, in a sworn statement to the DOJ in 2021, Knoll said she had no recollection of Googling Epstein, and she suggested the FBI records were inaccurate. Knoll and Officer Michael Thomas were both charged with falsifying records, indicating they had performed required checks on Epstein every 30 minutes. Footage obtained by prosecutors showed instead they went 8 hours without checking on Epstein at all until after he was dead. The charges against the two were later...
8 hours. I guess that answered my question. That's a long time. That's not minutes. That's many, many minutes.
They're dropped. They reached a plea deal.
Another file from the DOJ shows that Knoll's bank account was flagged in a suspicious activity report to the FBI. The bank says there were 12 deposits beginning in April 2018 culminating with the largest deposit for $5,000 in July 2019. That was less than 2 weeks before Epstein's death. As you might expect, these revelations went viral on social media. Congressman Ted Lieu, writing on X, quote, "The number of troubling coincidences keeps piling up regarding the death."
So I was saying, the entire thing is weird, and it's just like every single thing that comes up, it's like, well, that's even more weird.
Jeffrey Epstein. The investigation into Epstein's death must be reopened and conducted by an independent entity.
You see what I worry about, though? Conducted by an independent entity, which I'm all for, but how long before that gets corrupted, too, or captured or taken over because of death threats, or even just, oh, they just randomly suicided the next day?
Instead of by people who work under a giant banner of Trump's face.
But others were more skeptical, like journalist and radio host John Ziegler.
Like, really? Like, you think Trump's behind all this?
Who wrote, "This is somewhat consistent with the theory."
It's so surface level to always be like Trump's behind all of it. It's always Trump. It's just Trump. It's like, good God. Trump wasn't even in office when this happened, I don't think. When was this?
The guards let Epstein kill himself.
I think Biden was still in office, wasn't
like
he?
every bombshell in this case, it actually works against
or
the
was
conspiracy
this before
theory,
Biden got
the
in?
guards let him kill himself. He was not murdered, and everything falls apart. So I don't find the Googling him all that necessarily suspicious, or what was that supposed to indicate exactly? You could be a prison guard and have interest in a high security prisoner and Google who is this prisoner.
Oh, it was 2019. My mistake. That was my bad. It was 2019, August 10th. So that was Trump was still in office then. When did Biden get in? He was 2021. Is that right? Because it's usually the following. Yeah, so I think it's 2021.
That seems not nefarious.
And the search terms were something like latest on Epstein in jail, which,
right.
you know, if
it's
you're...
not like how to cover up hanging death or something.
Right. How to get away with hanging a prisoner and make it seem like he killed himself.
Right. Now, the payments, though, they were flagged as suspicious. That means they're suspicious. They're generally things are flagged as suspicious when they're suspicious. That does, frankly, strike me a little bit. What that tips me toward, because they were, like, I think it was $5,000 or something.
Mm-hmm.
It was not
that was the big sum.
Not much.
That's enough to cover up a murder?
Yeah.
I think that's enough.
I don't even think you could get me with $5,000 for a murder. Like, fuck you. Like, I'm broke as shit, but I ain't doing it for $5,000, man. Up some zeros a little bit.
To let him commit suicide. I think, again, to go down the rabbit hole of it, that would lead me to believe that they were maybe neglectful on purpose so that he would have time to off himself. So that he arranged that, or a friend would arrange that. That would not be someone out to kill him. That would be him wanting. I mean, which we have to understand. There is ample reason he would kill himself in these circumstances. He's facing now. He's going back to. He's being charged again with extremely, like, you go to prison for the rest of your life. He got lucky once. He's not getting lucky again. People kill themselves under these circumstances in prison all the time. People kill themselves in prison. People facing underage sex charges kill themselves a lot because prison is not a fun place for them. Also, the prison guards just being neglectful is the typical state of a prison. Like, these people are not paid a lot of money. They're not super professionally trained. They're supposed to check on him every 30 minutes. It was in the middle.
That's insane. They said 8 hours, and you're supposed to check on them every 30 minutes? Yeah, nothing suspicious there.
The night, instead they were sitting around doing nothing, is not a circumstance that needs additional explanation, frankly. It is the way prisons are. But you're saying they also got paid to look the other way? That's not that crazy to me, but that speaks to...
Okay, so I've been to jail. I've never been to prison, but I've been to jail, and the guards are pretty fucking routine on their stuff. Like, there are times where they might be a little bit late, or they might, there was one time I remember it was like, I think they were like an hour late, but they actually had a legitimate reason. And it's not like they had to explain it to us. But no, as far as the routine checks, they were pretty on. And I was in 2 jails because I got transferred because I had a little bit of a B&E situation that I never took care of, that after I got my DUI threw me right back into the it's like, oh, by the way, you didn't mess up. So I have been to 2 different jails, and each one was very routine on everything. It was pretty much by the minute. They were coming by. The only thing they were really late on was our food. But yeah, as what do they call them? Just the checks. They would just come by and just check, make sure we're not getting up into anything mischievous, which we usually were. There was one time we actually, so like the first jail I was at, the shower head was, it was kind of like the shower heads back at the Stark Pool in Squim back in the day, where it was just like you get under it and it just feels like needles. So a lot of the inmates figured out ways to, make life a little bit easier. And one of the ways was to make that shower head not hurt so much. So they would take the commissary would get toothpaste bottles, and they would cut. Obviously, they would use all the toothpaste, and once they would get done using it, they would cut the back side off of it, and they would construct a little device to make it like to go over and kind of like tape over the shower head to make it so it's not like needles hitting you. And one of the guards came around checking up on us, and yeah, he went in, he saw it, and he goes, and then I remember my buddy in the corner like realizing that he had left it in there, and then yep, sure enough, the guard goes and he goes, "You guys can't let me catch you with this. I'm telling you, you can't be letting me catch you with this." And it's just like, he knows, but even still, he still had to come around, even though we were kind of chill with the guy. Like, it was kind of a country club type of jail, but they would still do their checks, and they would still be on time with everything. And that's why I could tell looking over at the dude in the corner being like, because like he's on time. We knew this was coming, and you knew to get that thing out of there. So, and you didn't. So to me, 8 hours when you're supposed to be checking every 30 minutes, that already is a major, major red flag. I don't think that that's just common from prison to prison.
Again, that would make me think they're in on the suicide, not that some external force was trying to kill him to prevent him from speaking. I would think that would take more money.
So
that's my theory.
Yeah, I mean, I think we do need to be clear at the start that this guard and her colleagues all deny any kind of wrongdoing at all. And so what is happening here is a lot of speculation based on some facts that I would say invite further scrutiny, but obviously aren't dispositive, yeah. And you're not claiming they're dispositive either of anything one way or another. Now, I am curious. I think it was the New York Post report noted that the woman whom we're referring to was driving something like $60,000 vehicle at the time while employed as a prison guard.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, maybe she has some other clearly she has some other sources of income, otherwise those cash deposits wouldn't have been made. But, I think that it is certainly valid to say, that's interesting. I am not imputing any kind of guilt to her at all. Like you, the Google search, to me, that's getting a bit into the conspiracy rabbit hole. Like, why? Admittedly,
I mean, a more indicative Google search would mean something, right? There was that one, I think it's the Casey Anthony murder or something, where there are Google search terms for how to dispose, that makes you go, okay.
And I've watched enough true crime TV, and I've seen people, getting undone by search histories that are literally like, how do you dispose of a body kind of thing, right? So this isn't anything along those lines. But it's interesting. I thought, given that you are, I think, rather skeptical at times of the whole Epstein matter, I was expecting you to be much more, have fewer questions about this, or say, oh, it's all innocuous.
Well, no, I mean, the circumstances of his death are never, I was always for investigating that more fully, and there are things that seem odd if you don't know anything about how prisons work, if you don't know anything about how neglectful and the cameras are never, they're like, oh, but the cameras are working. The cameras are never working. Like the escalator on the metro is never working.
Are you sure, Robbie? Are you sure about that? Especially when you have somebody as high a profile as Jeffrey Epstein coming in, and it's like, maybe you make sure the cameras are working for that instance.
Things that the government runs fall apart and don't get fixed. Like, that's the normal state of public works. So none of that is by itself suspicious, but it can certainly be investigated further. And again, that why would he kill himself is not a question that, it's a question that has an Occam razor's answer. Right. That people kill themselves under these circumstances all the time. But yes, we can look into it more, and I find the payments suspicious. I find the financial, that's a tangible thing. That's a fact.
Sure. So
much of this is based on insinuation and theory and, well, what if, and who knows, and what if there's more information being hidden from us. Suspicious payments are a fact. That's a record. That's a transaction. You can't make money out of nowhere. So that's a piece of actual evidence that something could be awry. So that should be looked into further. Honestly, it should be.
Yeah, no, I mean, I wouldn't dispute that. The other thing that I was reminded of in reading up about this is, obviously there's been so much focus in recent weeks on Epstein's crimes and the connections of people whom he knew. And I had sort of forgotten some of the things about his action, the manner of his death. So it would appear that he got either fabric of some kind, I'm not sure if it was clothing or blankets, that he wouldn't really have got in the normal run of things, and then used those to kill himself. So, like, how did that happen? Is that just a sort of random neglect of the type you were talking about that then has these consequences, or is there something more to be probed there?
I mean, he's in a condition where he is known to be at risk of suicide for all the reasons we're discussing. So their work was to keep him alive, which they failed to do.
But like the thing that Rogan kept talking about, it's like, did you see his cellmate? And the dude, not only was he a monster, but like he had a reputation of being a monster too. I think wasn't he like a cop killer, or like he had killed like 4 or 5 people.
They didn't check on him they're supposed to check on him every 30 minutes. Because if something had happened in 30 minutes, you might be able to revive the person. Right. And they don't do that all night, and thus this happens.
Yeah.
So we have questions about those kinds of things.
Absolutely.
Next up, more to talk about on Rising. Please stay with us.
Alrighty. Yeah, I gotta get rolling, but I will be back. I'm gonna stream a little bit later this afternoon.